A cocky MMA fighter mocks an aging martial arts legend's movie career, calling him grandpa and challenging him to prove kung fu works in real fights. The 28-year-old champion live streams his humiliation of the quiet man at a charity gala, flexing for his millions of followers as he demands the elder step into an impromptu ring. But this isn't just some washed-up actor from old kung fu movies. This is Donnie Yen himself. The arrogant fighter has no idea he just challenged a man who spent 61 years perfecting the deadliest martial art on earth, or that those movie fights were actually demonstrations of real Wing Chun mastery. While the bully continues his verbal assault for the cameras, the legendary warrior removes his jacket with terrifying calm. The other martial arts veterans in the room step back, recognizing the signs of a master preparing to teach a lesson. The young fighter's followers keep watching the live stream, thinking they're about to see their hero destroy an old man, but they're actually witnessing the moment before their champion learns what real kung fu can do. What happens when you challenge the wrong legend at the wrong charity event? Will the cocky fighter survive discovering why some masters never lose their edge? What happened next would terrorize the bully's ego for the rest of his pathetic career. Before we jump back and tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The modest Asian man in the simple black suit moved through McCarran International Airport like a ghost among the living. At 61, Donnie Yen carried himself with an understated grace that made security guards nod respectfully without quite knowing why. His salt and pepper hair was perfectly groomed, his intelligent dark eyes taking in everything: the desperate gamblers feeding slot machines, the artificial glamour of neon advertisements, the excess that defined this desert oasis. He declined the waiting limousine with a polite smile, preferring to walk the strip and observe. Vegas assaulted the senses with flashing lights and promises of easy fortune, but Donnie saw through the glitter to the human cost beneath. Tourists stumbled past, clutching plastic cups of cheap alcohol, their dreams already crumbling in the desert heat. The small leather bag in his hand contained everything he needed for this brief visit. No entourage, no fanfare, just a man who had spent decades perfecting his craft while maintaining his humility. His movements were fluid, economical, each step placed with the precision of someone who understood balance in all things. Memories flickered through his mind as he walked. Movie sets where he'd spent countless hours choreographing fights that looked real because they were based on authentic technique. Award ceremonies where he'd deflected praise toward his teachers and fellow artists. Training sessions where he'd emphasized character development over physical prowess. The Bellagio's opulent lobby felt like stepping into another world. Marble floors reflected crystal chandeliers, while well-dressed guests moved through spaces designed to make them feel important while separating them from their money. The concierge's eyes widened with recognition as Donnie approached the front desk. "Mr. Yen, welcome to Las Vegas," the young man said with genuine warmth. "Your suite is ready, and the charity gala organizers have left materials about tomorrow's event." Donnie nodded his thanks, accepting the key card with the same quiet dignity he brought to everything. Tomorrow would bring the Legends of Combat Charity Gala, an event raising money for retired fighters' medical care. He'd agreed to participate not for personal recognition, but because helping veterans of combat sports aligned with his values. As the elevator carried him toward his suite, Donnie had no way of knowing that across town, a very different kind, a fighter was already planning to turn tomorrow's charity event into a spectacle of disrespect and arrogance. Tyler, the Tornado Brooks, demolished the heavy bag with a combination that would have hospitalized most men. Sweat poured down his muscular frame as his social media manager, Casey Roth, captured every brutal strike for his 2.3 million followers. The Elite Combat Academy's walls displayed his championship belts like trophies in a shrine to violence and ego. "That's exactly what I'm going to do to whoever steps up next," Tyler growled into the camera, his blonde hair matted with perspiration. At 28, he possessed the raw athleticism that had carried him to an undefeated record, but his technique revealed the gaps that discipline and humility might have filled. He fought angry, not smart, powerful but wasteful. The gym itself reflected Tyler's personality: flashy equipment, corporate sponsor banners, and mirrors positioned for optimal selfie angles. Unlike traditional martial arts schools with their emphasis on respect and spiritual development, this space existed purely for physical dominance and social media content. "Check this out," Tyler said, launching into a series of kicks that looked impressive but left him off balance. His entourage of yes men cheered appropriately, their enthusiasm fueled by financial dependence rather than genuine admiration. They lived off Tyler's success, feeding his ego because their own survival depended on maintaining his delusion of invincibility. Casey reviewed the footage on her phone, already editing clips for maximum viral potential. The Morgan Entertainment contract came through, she mentioned casually. $5 million for the next fight, plus performance bonuses. Tyler's eyes lit up with greed. Frank Morgan's entertainment empire had transformed him from a regional tough guy into a global brand. The money was incredible, but it came with expectations. Morgan demanded spectacle, controversy, content that kept audiences engaged and sponsors happy. Speaking of content, Casey continued, scrolling through her tablet. Tomorrow's charity thing has some interesting names. Look who's on the guest list. She showed Tyler the screen, and his predatory grin widened when he saw Donnie Yen's name. Among the attendees, that old kung fu movie guy? Perfect. My followers love it when I call out these ancient has-beens. Tyler had built his brand on disrespecting traditional martial arts, dismissing them as dancing for old men who can't handle real fighting. His audience ate up the controversy, sharing his videos while older martial artists tried unsuccessfully to defend their art's legitimacy in comment sections. "This is going to be epic content," Tyler said, already planning tomorrow's humiliation. "Time to show the world what happens when movie fighting meets real fighting." The Bellagio's press conference room buzzed with respectful energy as genuine legends of combat sports gathered for the charity gala. Donnie sat quietly in the back, observing as organizers introduced the evening's participants. These were men and women who had dedicated their lives to their arts, now using their reputations to help less fortunate fighters. Former heavyweight champion Rocky Morrison, 62 and still powerfully built, spoke about the importance of supporting veterans who had given their bodies to entertainment. Karate master Sensei Helen Kimura, 58, emphasized the medical needs of aging fighters. Kickboxing legend Carlos "The Bull" Rivera, 65, shared stories of friends who had died without proper health care. The atmosphere was dignified, focused on the charity's mission rather than self-promotion. When Donnie was introduced, he received respectful applause from attendees who understood what he had contributed to martial arts cinema and authentic fighting technique. He acknowledged the recognition with a humble nod, deflecting attention back to the evening's true purpose. The room's energy shifted dramatically when Tyler burst through the doors with his entourage. Designer athletic wear, expensive jewelry, and an attitude that demanded attention. Everything about his entrance screamed for the spotlight. Conversations quieted as the young fighter surveyed the room like a predator selecting prey. His eyes locked onto Donnie during the question-and-answer session. While veteran fighters discussed their charitable work with genuine passion, Tyler whispered mockingly to his followers, making sure his phone captured every dismissive comment about old-school dancing and movie martial arts. The contrast was stark and deliberate. On one side sat legends who had earned respect through decades of dedication, discipline, and authentic skill. On the other stood a young man whose entire identity depended on tearing down everything these veterans represented. When the formal presentations ended, Tyler made his move. He approached Donnie with his phone already recording his followers, expecting the kind of confrontational content that had made him famous. The media turned their cameras toward the brewing conflict, sensing a story that would generate clicks and controversy. "Hey, Grandpa," Tyler said loudly enough for everyone to hear, his voice dripping with manufactured disrespect. "You're that guy from those wire fu movies, right? You ever fight for real, or just dance around with invisible strings?" The room fell silent. Veteran fighters stiffened with anger at the blatant disrespect, but Donnie remained seated, looking up at Tyler with patient eyes that had seen this kind of arrogance before. The press conference transformed into a battlefield of philosophies. As Tyler's live stream exploded with viewer engagement, his followers flooded the chat with fire emojis and laughing faces, hungry for the humiliation they expected their champion to deliver. Media cameras captured every moment as the confrontation escalated. This fossil thinks movie choreography makes him tough, Tyler continued, his voice amplifying for maximum effect. I could break every bone in his ancient body. What do you think, chat? Should I show Grandpa what real fighting looks like? The veteran fighters in the room bristled with barely contained rage. These men and women had spent their lives earning respect through authentic skill and dedication. Watching their peer being mocked by someone who represented everything wrong with modern combat sports pushed them toward intervention. But Donnie raised one gentle hand, stopping their advance. His movement was so fluid it seemed effortless, carrying the authority of someone who had nothing left to prove to anyone. Tyler began mimicking traditional martial arts stances with exaggerated, mocking gestures, playing to his online audience like a performer in a cruel theater. Traditional martial arts are just dancing for losers who can't handle real fighting, Tyler proclaimed, his phone capturing every word for viral distribution. This old man probably hasn't thrown a real punch in 20 years. Just choreographed. Movie bullshit for idiots who believe kung fu is real. The insults continued, each one designed to provoke a reaction that would make better content. Tyler's understanding of combat was limited to physical dominance. He couldn't comprehend the mental discipline that allowed Donnie to remain calm under such deliberate provocation. Finally, Donnie stood. The movement was so smooth it appeared to happen in slow motion, drawing every eye in the room. His presence filled the space without effort, carrying decades of authentic mastery that needed no announcement or demonstration. If you believe I am too old to be effective, Donnie said in perfect English, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who had never needed to raise it. Perhaps a simple demonstration would satisfy your curiosity. Tyler's followers exploded with excitement, their comments scrolling too fast to read. They expected to witness their hero destroying an elderly movie star, creating content that would dominate social media for weeks. The young fighter's grin widened as he sensed victory within reach. I'll try not to hurt you too bad, Grandpa, Tyler said, removing his shirt and flexing for the cameras. Wouldn't want to ruin your movie career. This is going to be epic, chat. Old school versus new school, and we all know who's going to win. Gala organizers quickly cleared space in the event room's center, spreading mats for what they hoped would remain a controlled demonstration rather than an actual fight. Hotel staff arranged mats in the event room's center as Tyler bounced on his feet, shadowboxing aggressively for his livestream audience. His muscular frame glistened with anticipation while thousands of viewers flooded the chat with predictions of the elderly actor's humiliation. Donnie removed his jacket with deliberate care, revealing a simple black t-shirt underneath. The contrast was immediate and telling. Tyler's movements were explosive but wasteful, burning energy through unnecessary motion and theatrical displays. Donnie's preparation was economical, centered, each gesture serving a specific purpose without flourish or showmanship. Let's make this quick, old man, Tyler sneered, cracking his knuckles for the cameras. I've got a real training session after I'm done embarrassing you. The demonstration began with Tyler charging forward like an enraged bull, throwing a wild overhand right with enough force to knock out most opponents. But Donnie wasn't there when the punch arrived. A simple step offline, combined with a gentle deflection, sent Tyler stumbling past his target, while Donnie's counterpunch stopped inches from the young fighter's exposed jaw. Tyler spun around, confusion replacing confidence as he realized he'd hit nothing but air. His followers began questioning what they'd witnessed, their comments shifting from mockery to uncertainty. Tyler attempted a takedown, diving low for Donnie's legs, but found himself grasping empty space as the older man's footwork made him untouchable. Each of Tyler's attacks, hooks, kicks, grappling attempts, was neutralized with textbook Wing Chun technique. Deflection, redirection, and perfect distance control turned the young fighter's aggression against him. The crowd gasped as Donnie demonstrated concepts that Tyler's training had never addressed: centerline theory, simultaneous attack and defense. Economy of motion. Tyler's breathing became labored while Donnie remained calm, barely perspiring despite the activity. The livestream chat exploded with confusion as viewers watched their champion being systematically dismantled by techniques they didn't understand. What's happening? Tyler gasped between failed attacks. Why can't I hit you? Donnie's response was another demonstration. A simple trap and chi sao movement that sent Tyler stumbling backward. The young fighter's frustration mounted as he realized his strength and speed meant nothing against someone who understood the deeper principles of combat. Tyler's desperation manifested as reckless aggression, his technique deteriorating with each failed attack. Sweat poured down his face while his livestream audience watched in stunned silence as their undefeated champion was systematically outclassed by a 61-year-old man using movements they'd dismissed as movie nonsense. "This isn't over," Tyler snarled, throwing a wild combination that left him completely exposed. Donnie's response was swift and precise. A palm strike to the solar plexus followed by pressure point attacks to Tyler's neck and shoulder. The young fighter's body went rigid as nerve clusters were compressed with surgical accuracy. Tyler attempted to speak, but could only produce gurgling sounds as his nervous system struggled to process the precisely applied dim-mak technique. His arms began trembling uncontrollably, his legs refusing to support his weight. The cocky fighter who had entered the ring with supreme confidence now found himself helpless, his body betraying him in ways his training had never prepared him for. The crowd watched in amazement as Tyler collapsed face first onto the mat, his limbs twitching involuntarily while his phone continued live streaming his complete humiliation. Thousands of viewers witnessed their hero reduced to a quivering mass of muscle and ego, unable to move or speak coherently. Hotel medics rushed forward as Donnie knelt beside the fallen fighter, applying counterpressure to specific points to prevent permanent nerve damage. His movements were clinical, professional, showing the same care for Tyler's well-being that a surgeon might display during a delicate operation. "The pressure points will release naturally within an hour," Donnie explained to the medical team, his voice carrying no trace of satisfaction or cruelty. "He may experience temporary numbness, but will suffer no lasting damage." Paramedics arrived, with a stretcher, carefully loading Tyler's immobilized form while his livestream captured every moment of his degradation. His phone, still broadcasting to millions of viewers worldwide, fell to the floor with a crack that seemed to symbolize his shattered reputation. As the stretcher wheeled him toward the exit, Tyler's eyes remained wide with shock and disbelief. The last image his followers saw before the stream ended was his face, no longer arrogant and confident, but marked by the profound humiliation of learning that true martial arts mastery transcended age, strength, and social media. Following point 2. Hours later in Tyler's sterile hospital room, the harsh fluorescent lights illuminated a broken man's desperate attempt to salvage his reputation. Basic motor functions had returned, but his pride remained shattered beyond repair. Casey sat beside his bed, scrolling through her tablet with increasingly grave expressions as the scope of the disaster became clear. "The video has 12 million views and climbing," she reported, her voice hollow with professional despair. "Every major sports network is running the story. They're calling it the humiliation heard round the world." Tyler's phone buzzed constantly with notifications he couldn't bear to read. Comments that once praised his dominance now mocked his helplessness. Memes spread across social media platforms, showing his face contorted in confusion and defeat. The hashtag Grandpa Strong trended globally, while hashtag Tornado Down became synonymous with catastrophic failure. His sponsors began the exodus within hours. The energy drink company that had paid millions for his endorsement released a statement distancing themselves from unsportsmanlike behavior. His clothing line pulled his merchandise from stores. The supplement company that had built their entire marketing campaign around his image canceled their contract via email. News outlets seized the story with predatory enthusiasm. Young MMA star humiliated by elderly movie actor dominated headlines. Across multiple platforms, sports commentators who had once praised Tyler's potential now analyzed his technical flaws with surgical precision. The narrative shifted from celebrating a rising star to dissecting a cautionary tale about arrogance and disrespect. His girlfriend Amber arrived only long enough to collect her belongings and deliver a final insult. "I can't be seen with someone who got beaten up by a senior citizen." Her departure was filmed by paparazzi who had gathered outside the hospital like vultures sensing carrion. The financial implications became clear as Casey tallied the losses: canceled endorsements, terminated contracts, and legal penalties for breaking promotional agreements totaled over $12 million. Tyler's empire, built on manufactured controversy and artificial confidence, crumbled in real time. As evening approached, an unexpected visitor appeared in the doorway. Frank Morgan, Tyler's primary sponsor and owner of multiple Las Vegas casinos, entered with the cold fury of a man watching his investments evaporate. His expensive suit and predatory smile carried implications far more dangerous than canceled endorsement deals. Morgan's private office deep beneath the Golden Nugget Casino resembled a command center for global criminal enterprise. Multiple monitors displayed underground fight streams from locations worldwide, each screen showing desperate men destroying each other for the entertainment of wealthy sociopaths. Tyler sat uncomfortably across from Morgan's mahogany desk, still sore from the pressure point attacks that had ended his career. "You've cost me $12 million in endorsement deals, sponsorship agreements, and promotional contracts," Morgan began, his voice carrying the measured tone of someone accustomed to collecting debts through violence. "But financial losses can be recovered. What you've really damaged is something far more valuable: my reputation for backing winners." The walls displayed photographs of Morgan with politicians, celebrities, and figures whose wealth came from sources that didn't bear scrutiny. This was a man who had built his empire on the suffering of others, turning human misery into profitable entertainment for clients who measured their worth in others' degradation. Morgan activated a large screen showing footage from the graveyard, his underground fight club that operated in the casino's sub-basement levels. Tyler watched in horror as elderly martial arts masters were forced to fight young killers, while wealthy audiences paid premium prices to watch legends die. The camera work was professional, the production values high, the violence absolutely real. Rich old men love watching their childhood heroes get beaten to death, Morgan explained with casual cruelty. They pay millions to see the warriors they once admired reduced to broken meat. It's psychology, kid. They're buying the destruction of their own mortality fears. Tyler's face paled as he realized the true scope of Morgan's operation. These weren't exhibition matches or theatrical performances. They were executions disguised as entertainment, broadcast to international clients who treated human life as commodity. "Your viral humiliation gives us the perfect opportunity," Morgan continued, displaying a contract that reeked of desperation and death. "You're going to challenge that old man to a real fight. No rules, no referees, no mercy. This time you're going to break every bone in his ancient body while my cameras capture everything." Tyler's hands shook as he read the terms. The contract wasn't for a fight. It was for murder with plausible deniability. But Morgan's implications were clear: comply or face consequences that made financial ruin seem pleasant. "Welcome to the graveyard, kid." Morgan smiled with predatory satisfaction. "Here, legends come to die, and broken fighters find redemption through violence." The next morning's Las Vegas sun streamed through Donnie's hotel suite windows as he practiced traditional forms on the balcony overlooking the Strip. His movements flowed like water, each gesture connecting him to decades of training and the wisdom of masters long departed. The peaceful meditation was interrupted by his phone's urgent ringing. "Donnie, my old friend," came the familiar voice of Master Chong, though something felt wrong beneath the surface warmth. At 68, Chong had been Donnie's senior brother in their shared lineage, a Shaolin monk who had emigrated to America and established a respected school in San Francisco's Chinatown. But Chang's voice carried undertones of fear that decades of friendship couldn't disguise. "I am visiting Las Vegas to see an old student. Perhaps we could meet? There is something I must discuss with you personally." Donnie's trained instincts recognized the subtle distress signals. Chong spoke too carefully, his words chosen with the precision of someone being monitored. The conversation felt rehearsed, lacking the natural flow of their usual exchanges about students, training, and philosophical discussions that had bonded them for 30 years. "Of course, Sifu," Donnie replied, using the respectful title despite their equal standing. "Where would you like to meet?" Chong provided an address in the warehouse district on Vegas's outskirts, far from the tourist areas and casino surveillance. The location itself felt wrong. Chong preferred traditional settings, tea houses or training halls where serious conversations could unfold with proper ceremony. If something happens to me, Chang's final words carried weight that chilled Donnie's blood. Remember that true kung fu is about protecting others, not proving oneself. The student I came to see, he is not what he appears to be. The line went dead with abrupt finality that confirmed Donnie's worst suspicions. Chang was in immediate danger, possibly being used as bait in some larger scheme. But abandoning his old friend wasn't an option. Their bond transcended personal safety considerations. Donnie armed himself with simple wooden training sticks, tools that appeared innocent but became deadly weapons in skilled hands. As he headed for his rental car, security cameras throughout the hotel tracked his movements, feeding information to Morgan's command center where the trap was already in motion. The warehouse address led Donnie to Vegas's industrial outskirts where legitimate businesses gave way to structures that housed activities best conducted away from public scrutiny. The building Chang had specified stood empty except for a single sheet of paper taped to the door, hastily written directions that felt like breadcrumbs leading into a carefully prepared snare. Golden Nugget, sublevel 3, elevator behind the kitchen. Come alone or your friend dies. Donnie read the note twice, memorizing details while his tactical mind analyzed the situation. Morgan's involvement became clear. The casino owner's reputation for ruthless business practices was well known throughout Vegas's entertainment industry. But Chang's life hung in the balance, making retreat impossible despite the obvious trap. The Golden Nugget's kitchen staff had been paid substantial sums to ignore unusual activities during the evening shift change. Donnie found the hidden elevator, exactly where promised, its presence confirming the operation's sophisticated planning. The descent took him 3 floors below the casino's basement, far deeper than any legitimate business required. The elevator opened to reveal an underground complex that defied belief. Medical facilities with surgical equipment, training rooms equipped with professional cameras, and corridors lined with cell doors that suggested long-term imprisonment rather than temporary detention. This wasn't a simple kidnapping, it was a fully operational facility designed for sustained criminal enterprise. Armed guards escorted Donnie through hallways that reeked of human suffering and institutional violence. Through cell windows, he glimpsed faces that made his blood run cold. Elderly martial artists he recognized from tournaments and exhibitions. Men who had been reported missing from the martial arts community over the past 2 years. Eddie Hammer Morales sat in one cell, the former heavyweight boxer's weathered face marked by recent beatings. Jack Stone occupied another, the retired Navy SEAL's military bearing intact despite obvious mistreatment. Others remained unidentified but shared the same hollow expressions of men who had been broken systematically. The guards brought Donnie to a central viewing room where multiple monitors displayed fight footage from around the world. Morgan waited with Chang beside him, the elderly monk bound but apparently unharmed. Chang's eyes carried profound shame and apologetic sorrow that spoke louder than any words. "Welcome to the graveyard, Mr. Yen," Morgan said with satisfaction. "Your friend's freedom depends entirely on your willingness to participate in our little tournament." Morgan's briefing room adjoined the main arena where sophisticated cameras and lighting equipment transformed underground murder into high-production entertainment. Donnie sat with the other captured legends as wall-mounted screens displayed footage that revealed the true scope of the graveyard's operations. A global network of wealthy sadists paying millions to watch childhood heroes destroyed. "The concept is beautifully simple," Morgan explained with academic detachment. "Rich old men fear aging and mortality above all else. They pay premium prices to watch the warriors they once admired reduced to broken meat. It's psychological warfare disguised as entertainment. The rules were deliberately cruel. Fight-enhanced killers until death or complete incapacitation. Each legend received one theoretical chance at freedom by surviving 3 matches, but the medical staff ensured fighters lived just long enough to provide maximum entertainment value before inevitable destruction. Eddie shared his story first, lured to Vegas by false reports that his grandson had been kidnapped, only to discover the boy was safe while Eddie remained trapped. Jack had been promised a legitimate film role. His agent paid handsomely to deliver him into Morgan's hands. Others told similar tales of manipulation and betrayal. The facility had operated for 2 years, generating over $50 million. From international clients who included dictators or criminals and billionaires seeking the ultimate taboo entertainment. Each fighter's destruction was custom-tailored to client preferences. Some paid extra for specific types of humiliation or particular methods of defeat. Chang's shame was overwhelming as he revealed his forced cooperation. Morgan's agents had threatened his granddaughter Lily in San Francisco, providing photographic evidence of their surveillance and detailed plans for her torture if Chang refused to cooperate. His choice between betraying his friend and watching his family suffer had been no choice at all. 37 legends have died in this arena, Chang whispered, his voice breaking with accumulated grief. I watched them all fall, knowing I was responsible for delivering them to slaughter. Each death weighs on my soul like stones. Donnie placed a comforting hand on his old friend's shoulder, understanding the impossible position that had forced this betrayal. In Chang's place, he might have made the same devastating choice. Morgan's voice cut through their reunion. Your first opponent will be Crusher Kowalski, 6'4", 250 pounds of steroid-enhanced rage who's killed 3 fighters in underground matches. Your friend Chang gets to watch you die on livestream, Mr. Yen, unless you somehow manage to survive. 2 hours later, stadium lights illuminated the underground arena where death masqueraded as sport. The regulation MMA cage was surrounded by professional cameras that broadcast to encrypted streams worldwide, each viewer paying premium prices to watch a legend's final moments. Donnie entered wearing simple black fighting shorts, his movements carrying the calm dignity of someone at peace with mortality. Crusher Kowalski emerged from the opposite tunnel like a nightmare, given flesh, 6'4", and 250 pounds of chemically enhanced muscle and manufactured rage. Brass knuckles hidden from camera angles would ensure maximum damage, while his previous victories over elderly masters had earned him celebrity status among Morgan's clientele. The fight began with Crusher's bull rush, raw power seeking to overwhelm technique through sheer brutality. But Donnie's response demonstrated why Wing Chun had survived centuries of evolution. Centerline theory, simultaneous attack and defense, economy of motion that made strength irrelevant when properly applied. Every exchange revealed the fundamental difference between learned violence and authentic martial arts mastery. Crusher landed heavy shots that would have crippled most men, but Donnie's conditioning from decades of training absorbed punishment, while his counterattacks targeted pressure points and nerve clusters with surgical precision. The turning point came when Crusher attempted ground-and-pound tactics, confident that his size advantage would prove decisive. Instead, he found himself trapped in a modified dragon sleeper hold that combined traditional grappling with knowledge of human anatomy that surpassed any modern fighter's understanding. That Crusher's struggles grew weaker as blood flow to his brain was methodically restricted. His enhanced muscles meant nothing against techniques that targeted the cardiovascular system rather than relying on mechanical leverage. Within minutes, the seemingly unstoppable killer tapped out unconsciously, his body going limp as oxygen deprivation overcame chemical enhancement. Medical staff dragged Crusher's unconscious form from the arena while Morgan's voice echoed through hidden speakers. Impressive, Mr. Yen. Your friend Chang lives another day. But tomorrow night, you face something far more challenging, the man who killed Eddie's grandson. The threat carried additional weight because Donnie could see Eddie's face in the holding area monitors, the former boxer's expression mixing hope with the terrible knowledge that survival only delayed inevitable destruction. One victory meant nothing in a tournament designed to ensure every legend eventually fell. Later that night in the underground medical facility, Donnie's body bore the accumulated damage from his fight with Crusher. A sympathetic guard named Miguel Santos approached with real painkillers instead of the sedatives typically administered to keep fighters compliant. His weathered hands showed decades of honest work, and his kind brown eyes reflected genuine concern rather than professional indifference. My daughter was threatened to keep me quiet, Miguel whispered, checking the corridor for surveillance. But I've been documenting everything, waiting for someone strong enough to help expose this nightmare. Miguel revealed the operation's true scope through smuggled photographs and recorded conversations. The graveyard generated $50 million annually from clients in 12 countries. Dictators who enjoyed watching American heroes destroyed, war criminals seeking ultimate entertainment, billionaires who measured their worth through others' suffering. Each fight was custom-tailored to psychological profiles that Morgan's team had developed over months of research. Some clients paid extra to watch childhood heroes suffer specific humiliations. Others requested particular methods of death, turning murder into personalized performance art for the pathologically wealthy. The audience includes people you'd recognize from news reports. Miguel continued, showing Donnie encrypted client lists on his hidden phone. Politicians, celebrities, business leaders who present themselves as respectable while funding torture for entertainment. The facility had backup locations in 3 other countries, ensuring operations could continue even if the Vegas site was compromised. Morgan's network included corrupt officials, paid mercenaries, and legitimate businesses that provided cover for international human trafficking disguised as entertainment ventures. Miguel's documentation included medical records showing how fighters were kept alive just long enough to provide maximum entertainment value. Stimulants kept them conscious during beatings, while carefully administered drugs prolonged suffering without allowing merciful unconsciousness. I was going to contact authorities next week, Miguel admitted. But your arrival changes everything. If we can get this evidence to the right people. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the complex, their harsh sound cutting through the conversation like knives. Miguel's face went white with terror as heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors. His surveillance activities had been discovered through the facility's comprehensive monitoring systems. Armed guards stormed the medical bay, dragging Miguel away while he screamed for his daughter's safety. His cries echoed through the underground complex as Donnie realized his only ally had been compromised, leaving him truly alone in Morgan's domain. The next morning in the communal holding area, the surviving legends gathered to plan their desperate escape. Eddie's boxing experience provided combat strategy. Jack's SEAL training offered tactical knowledge, and Donnie's film stunt work gave him insights into the facility's layout that their captors hadn't considered, using subtle hand signals learned from their respective disciplines. They coordinated a plan that maximized their individual strengths while minimizing exposure to the facility's extensive surveillance network. Jack identified guard shift patterns, Eddie mapped weapon storage locations, and Donnie calculated optimal timing based on his observations of staff routines. Chong volunteered for the most dangerous role despite his advanced age and accumulated guilt. "I brought this disaster upon all of you," he insisted, his weathered hands trembling with emotion. "Let me redeem myself by ensuring your escape, even if it costs my life." The other legends shared stories of their glory days while planning their rebellion, each man finding unexpected peace with the possibility of dying for a righteous cause. Eddie spoke of championships won against impossible odds. Jack described military operations where courage overcame superior firepower, and Donnie recalled film sequences where teamwork defeated individual adversaries. Their plan involved creating medical emergencies during dinner distribution to draw guards into confined spaces where superior numbers could be neutralized through coordinated attacks. Jack's knowledge of improvised explosives would seal pursuit routes, while Eddie's powerful combinations would clear paths through security checkpoints. "We might not all survive," Jack warned, his military experience providing realistic assessment of their chances. "But if even one of us reaches the surface with Miguel's evidence, these bastards face justice." The legends clasped hands in a circle, each man drawing strength from bonds forged through shared suffering and common purpose. Chong led them in a brief meditation, connecting their spirits to the traditions that had shaped their lives and the masters who had taught them to value honor above survival. When dinner arrived, they implemented their plan with precision born from decades of training and performance under pressure. Eddie collapsed with apparent cardiac distress, drawing medical staff and guards into the holding area where predetermined signals triggered coordinated chaos. Jack disarmed the first guard with techniques that hadn't dulled despite years away from active service. Donnie neutralized 2 others with pressure point strikes that left them unconscious but alive. The escape was in motion, but alarms immediately began wailing throughout the entire complex. The escape became a running battle through multiple levels of Morgan's underground fortress. Each legend utilized specialized skills honed over decades of training and combat. Jack's military tactics creating strategic advantages, Eddie's boxing combinations clearing paths through groups of guards, Donnie's martial arts precision neutralizing multiple opponents simultaneously, the facilities. Corridors echoed with sounds of authentic combat as three elderly warriors fought their way toward freedom. Jack improvised explosives from cleaning supplies to seal passages behind them, buying precious time while preventing pursuit from overwhelming their position. That Eddie's powerful combinations, refined through years of professional boxing, proved devastatingly effective in the narrow corridors where guards couldn't utilize numerical advantages. His weathered fists still carried the bone-deep conditioning that had made him a heavyweight contender decades earlier. Donnie's speed and precision allowed him to disarm multiple opponents while advancing steadily toward the upper levels. His film stunt experience provided knowledge of the building's layout that even Morgan's security team had overlooked during their planning phases. They reached the casino kitchen fighting through increasingly desperate resistance as Morgan's forces realized the scope of the breakout. The battle spilled into the Golden Nugget's main floor, erupting among surprised tourists and sending gamblers diving for cover behind slot machines and poker tables. Security footage captured everything as three legends fought through Morgan's private army in full view of hundreds of witnesses. The spectacle transformed from hidden underground murder into public exposure that threatened Morgan's entire operation. Sirens wailed in the distance as law enforcement responded to reports of armed conflict in a major casino. The legends burst through the Golden Nugget's front entrance onto Fremont Street, freedom seeming within reach as neon lights illuminated their battered but victorious faces. But Morgan's voice crackled through speakers positioned throughout the casino district. "Gentlemen, I appreciate the entertainment, but the show isn't over yet." Street performers and vendors who had seemed like random tourists suddenly revealed themselves as Morgan's agents, surrounding the exhausted legends with overwhelming numbers. The entire escape had been anticipated, every move predicted and countered. Through surveillance and preparation, Tyler Brooks appeared among the forces, his face bearing fresh bruises from Morgan's training, but his eyes reflecting something new: uncertainty about his role in the unfolding nightmare. His presence suggested that even Morgan's allies were beginning to question the operation's sustainability. On Fremont Street, surrounded by neon lights and confused tourists, the devastating scope of Morgan's preparation became clear. Every possible escape route was blocked by operatives disguised as street performers, vendors, and casual observers. The legend's desperate flight had been predicted and countered through comprehensive surveillance. Chong appeared flanked by guards, his forced cooperation revealed as Morgan's voice explained the trap's psychological dimensions. "Your friend's granddaughter remains under surveillance in San Francisco. Her safety depends entirely on his continued cooperation with our operations." Eddie and Jack fell to tranquilizer darts fired from multiple concealed positions, their bodies hitting the pavement as tourists scattered in panic. Donnie evaded the initial barrage through superior reflexes, but couldn't abandon his fallen comrades to save himself. The ensuing fight took place in an alley behind the casino where Morgan finally appeared personally, no longer hiding behind subordinates and surveillance equipment. His expensive suit remained immaculate despite the chaos around him, reflecting the confidence of someone who had anticipated every possible outcome. "Did you really think I'd allow escape before our grand finale?" Morgan asked with academic curiosity. "Tomorrow night marks our 2-year anniversary special. All premium clients will be watching as I personally execute each of you on livestream." Chang's tears reflected decades of accumulated shame as he watched his friends fall victim to his forced betrayal. The choice between family and honor had been no choice at all, but the weight of 37 deaths crushed his spirit with unbearable guilt. Donnie fought with desperate precision, but exhaustion and overwhelming numbers gradually wore down even his legendary endurance. Morgan's operatives used non-lethal weapons exclusively, ensuring their valuable prisoners survived for tomorrow's entertainment. As consciousness faded under the influence of powerful sedatives, Donnie's last sight was Chang's face contorted with anguish. The act ended with all three heroes recaptured, their situation more hopeless than before. Morgan's satisfied smile was the final image before darkness claimed Donnie's awareness. The casino owner had demonstrated the futility of resistance, while ensuring his anniversary celebration would proceed exactly as planned. The legend's brief taste of freedom made their return to captivity even more psychologically devastating. Exactly as Morgan had intended, hope had been offered only to be crushed more completely, breaking spirits that mere imprisonment couldn't touch. Donnie awakened in specialized solitary confinement, the cell's walls lined with sound dampening material that isolated him from human contact. Through security monitors, he watched Morgan's staff preparing the grand finale event, a tournament where surviving legends would be executed sequentially for premium clients paying $1 million each to witness the destruction of childhood. Heroes, heavy sedatives clouded his thoughts, but years of meditation training allowed him to accelerate his body's recovery through controlled breathing and mental discipline. He entered the deepest states of consciousness his masters had taught him, connecting with teachings that transcended physical circumstances. His Sifu's voice echoed across decades. True Kung Fu is not about defeating enemies, but about protecting the innocent and upholding justice. The words carried new meaning in this underground hell where evil masqueraded as entertainment and suffering was monetized for the pleasure of wealthy sociopaths. Through meditation, Donnie realized that simple escape would accomplish nothing meaningful. Morgan's operation would continue in other locations, claiming more victims while he remained free to profit from human misery. The graveyard represented everything wrong with a world that had forgotten honor, respect, and the sanctity of human life. His path forward crystallized with perfect clarity. He must embrace his role not just as survivor, but as protector of all future victims. This wasn't about personal vengeance or proving martial arts superiority. It was about ensuring that men like Morgan could never again profit from the destruction of heroes. The cell's lock mechanism was sophisticated but not impregnable to someone with knowledge gained from decades of film stunt work. Donnie began working on the electronic components using techniques learned from action sequences, but knew that freedom alone wouldn't be enough, that he needed allies, evidence, and a plan that would destroy Morgan's entire network rather than simply allowing one man to escape. The meditation had shown him that sometimes the greatest victory required the greatest sacrifice. As his fingers worked on the lock circuitry, Donnie's mind reached out to the universe, seeking the connection that would bring help when he needed it most. Somewhere above, he sensed movement, people who shared his determination to see justice served. The lock clicked open with a soft sound that marked the beginning of the end for Morgan's empire of suffering. 3 floors above, Miguel Santos worked in the casino kitchen despite the beatings that had left his face swollen and his ribs cracked. His hidden surveillance files remained safely stored in his daughter's school locker, beyond Morgan's reach, but useless without someone to deliver them to authorities. Betty Walsh, a former military police officer working casino security, had been watching the underground activities with growing suspicion. Her investigative instincts, honed through years of law enforcement, recognized patterns that suggested criminal enterprise far beyond simple gambling violations. When Miguel finally approached her with photographic evidence of the graveyard's operations, Betty's military training kicked into overdrive. The scope of Morgan's crimes demanded coordinated response involving federal authorities, but they needed more than photographs to ensure successful prosecution. "We need someone inside who can document everything in real time," Betty explained, during their clandestine meeting in a 24-hour diner near the Strip. "These photos prove the facility exists, but we need evidence of the actual murders." Chang's granddaughter Lily had arrived in Las Vegas after losing contact with her grandfather. Her computer science background provided technical skills that complemented Betty's tactical knowledge and Miguel's inside access to the facility. Detective Frank Torres of Las Vegas Metro had been investigating the disappearances of elderly martial artists for months. His case files contained enough evidence to support federal intervention once Betty contacted him with Miguel's documentation. The rescue team coordinated with Donnie's Hollywood connections, stunt coordinators, fellow actors, and industry professionals who possessed resources and motivation to help. Their plan involved simultaneous strikes on multiple fronts, shutting down broadcast networks, documenting evidence for prosecution, and creating escape routes from the underground facility. "The anniversary broadcast gives us our window," Betty explained, her military mind calculating logistics with precision. Maximum security focus on the event means minimum attention to perimeter defenses. As they finalized their assault plan, an unexpected figure appeared at their meeting point. Tyler Brooks approached hesitantly, his face bearing fresh bruises from Morgan's training sessions. But his earlier arrogance had been replaced by something entirely different, genuine. Remorse mixed with desperate need for redemption. "I know you have no reason to trust me," Tyler began, his voice lacking its former cockiness, "but I can help you save them. I know things about Morgan's operation that could make the difference between success and failure." Tyler's transformation was evident in every aspect of his demeanor as he sat across from the rescue team in the dimly lit diner. The designer clothes had been replaced by simple athletic wear, the expensive jewelry was gone, and his earlier swagger had given way to humble determination mixed with profound guilt. Morgan's planning a bracket-style tournament where the legends fight each other to the death, Tyler revealed, providing detailed facility layouts and security protocols. "The survivor faces me in a final execution match broadcast to his highest-paying clients worldwide." He explained Morgan's insurance policy, comprehensive recordings of every murder committed over 2 years, stored on servers that could destroy his clients if authorities ever threatened the operation. The evidence would guarantee prosecutions across multiple countries if it could be recovered intact that Tyler's role in the rescue plan was the most dangerous, returning to the facility as a supposed loyal fighter while secretly working to free the prisoners. His motivations were transparently clear: overwhelming guilt over his role in the trap and newfound respect for everything traditional martial arts represented. "I watched footage of what they've done to other fighters," Tyler continued, his voice breaking with emotion. "Old men who dedicated their lives to honor and discipline, tortured to death for the entertainment of rich psychopaths. I helped deliver Donnie into that nightmare." Betty assessed Tyler's tactical value with military pragmatism. His access to Morgan's inner circle provided opportunities that external assault couldn't match, but trusting someone who had already betrayed Donnie required careful consideration of alternatives. "If you're lying or change your mind, people die," Betty stated bluntly. "Are you prepared for that responsibility?" Tyler met her gaze without flinching. "I've been a selfish coward my entire life. Maybe I can't undo the damage I've caused, but I can try to make sure no one else suffers because of my stupidity." The rescue team split into 3 coordinated groups. Betty would handle law enforcement coordination, Miguel would manage technical systems from inside the facility, and Tyler would return to Morgan as a double agent whose change of heart remained hidden as Tyler prepared to re-enter the graveyard. Chang's granddaughter Lily provided him with micro-cameras and communication devices that would allow real-time coordination with the external team. Unknown to the rescue planners, Donnie had already begun his own escape from within the facility, setting the stage for a convergence that would determine whether justice or evil would triumph in the underground arena where legends came to die. Tyler returned to the underground facility with carefully rehearsed explanations for his absence, reporting to Morgan that he was ready to kill the old man who humiliated me on live television. His performance had to be perfect. Any sign of deception would result in immediate execution and doom the rescue operation. That Morgan's suspicion was evident but manageable, the casino owner's need for Tyler's participation in the grand finale overriding his natural paranoia. The anniversary broadcast required a spectacular conclusion, and Tyler's public humiliation by Donnie provided narrative satisfaction that Morgan's wealthy clients demanded. "Your redemption arc will be beautiful," Morgan explained with sadistic pleasure. The young fighter rises from defeat to destroy his elderly tormentor. Very Hollywood, very satisfying for our audience of aging billionaires who want to see youth triumph over wisdom. Tyler was assigned to the grand finale fight card, but first he needed to reconnect with the captured legends without arousing suspicion. The facility's surveillance was comprehensive, requiring coded communications and careful timing to avoid detection by Morgan's security apparatus. When Tyler finally reached the holding area, the legend's initial reaction was predictable distrust. His previous betrayal had delivered them into this nightmare, and his sudden appearance claiming alliance seemed like another layer of Morgan's psychological torture. But Chang, bearing the greatest guilt for his own forced cooperation, recognized genuine remorse in Tyler's demeanor. The elderly monk's experience with troubled students allowed him to see past Tyler's defensive arrogance to the shame and determination beneath. Redemption requires more than words, Chang told Tyler quietly, beginning to teach basic Wing Chun. Principles not for fighting technique, but for mental discipline and honor. True strength comes from protecting others, not proving superiority. Meanwhile, Donnie coordinated with Tyler to identify optimal moments for the rescue attempt. They learned that the grand finale had attracted Morgan's most dangerous international clients, who had traveled to Las Vegas personally to witness the executions from VIP viewing areas. The tournament began with Eddie forced to fight Jack in an opening match designed to break the legend's spirits through fraternal violence. Both men understood they were performing for their lives, staging realistic but non-lethal combat that satisfied the bloodthirsty audience while buying precious time. As the fake fight continued in the arena above, rescue teams prepared to strike from multiple directions, with Tyler serving as the crucial link between external assault and internal rebellion that would determine whether justice could triumph over evil in the depths of Morgan's underground empire. The rescue operation commenced as Betty's team cut power to non-essential systems, while Miguel's technical assault disabled the broadcast network from his position in the kitchen. Inside the arena, the grand finale erupted into coordinated chaos as the legends turned their staged fights into genuine rebellion against their captors. Eddie and Jack, no longer fighting each other, launched simultaneous attacks against arena security with devastating effectiveness. Eddie's heavyweight boxing combinations cleared paths through groups of guards, while Jack's SEAL training provided tactical coordination that maximized their limited numbers against superior firepower. Chang demonstrated that decades of Shaolin training had left him far from helpless despite his advanced age. His movements flowed like water around opponents' attacks before striking with precise force that dropped armed guards instantly. The authentic kung fu he displayed bore no resemblance to the theatrical performances Morgan's clients expected. Tyler dropped into the arena to execute the rebellious prisoners, instead joined their fight for freedom with newfound purpose. His natural athleticism, guided by Chang's brief lessons in mental discipline, made him an effective ally rather than another obstacle to overcome. The battle became three-dimensional as legends fought upward through the facility's levels while Betty's team descended from above. Each floor presented different challenges: medical staff with sedatives, security checkpoints with automated weapons, and narrow corridors that favored defenders over attackers. Donnie's escape from solitary confinement allowed him to coordinate internal movements with external assault. His knowledge of the facility's layout, combined with years of choreographing complex action sequences, provided strategic advantages that Morgan's forces couldn't anticipate or counter effectively. The underground complex filled with smoke from Jack's improvised explosives, creating cover while destroying security cameras that had monitored every movement. Emergency lighting cast hellish shadows as authentic combat replaced the staged violence that had entertained wealthy sociopaths. But even as the legends reached the casino's main level, Morgan triggered lockdown procedures that sealed all exits with steel barriers. Police sirens wailed outside while everyone remained trapped within the Golden Nugget's walls. "You've destroyed my anniversary broadcast," Morgan's voice echoed through speakers. "But no one leaves until I have my personal satisfaction. It's time to meet my ultimate champion." With the casino sealed and federal agents surrounding the building, Morgan retreated toward his private elevator leading to a rooftop helicopter pad. But he wasn't fleeing. Instead, he was retrieving his ultimate weapon. Victor the Beast Kozlov, a 300-pound former Spetsnaz operative enhanced with military-grade stimulants that had transformed him into something barely human. The final confrontation erupted across the Golden Nugget's main floor as Morgan broadcast the battle to his remaining international clients through backup systems. Victor represented the ultimate corruption of martial arts. A warrior transformed into a killing machine devoid of honor, discipline, or humanity. Victor's enhanced strength allowed him to throw slot machines like toys, while his pain tolerance, chemically altered beyond human limits, made him nearly unstoppable. The stimulants coursing through his system had elevated his physical capabilities while destroying any remaining traces of conscience or restraint. The battle between Donnie and Victor became more than physical combat. It was philosophical warfare between traditional martial arts wisdom and modern brutality enhanced by technology and drugs. Every exchange demonstrated the fundamental conflict between authentic mastery and artificial enhancement that Donnie's decades of training provided the mental discipline necessary to find weaknesses in seemingly perfect armor. Victor's enhanced muscles meant nothing against pressure point techniques that targeted the nervous system, while his chemical advantages created vulnerabilities that traditional training would have avoided. The fight destroyed most of the casinos. Main Flora's other legends, and Tyler battled Morgan's remaining forces. Slot machines shattered, poker tables splintered, and neon signs sparked and died as authentic combat raged through spaces designed for controlled entertainment. Victor's downfall came through his own enhanced rage. The stimulants that provided. His strength also clouded his tactical thinking, making him predictable despite his overwhelming physical advantages. Donnie's patience and precision eventually found the openings that pure technique could exploit. As Victor fell unconscious from a combination of pressure point manipulation and psychological warfare. Donnie stood victorious, but severely injured. Blood streamed from multiple wounds while his breathing came in labored gasps that spoke of internal damage. Morgan appeared with a pistol, his empire crumbling around him, but his personal hatred demanding final satisfaction. If I can't have my entertainment empire, at least I can watch you die personally. The gun was trained on Donnie's head when Chang suddenly appeared. Intercepting the shot meant for his friend, Chang's body absorbed the bullet intended for Donnie. His weathered frame crumpling as decades of accumulated guilt found redemption through ultimate sacrifice. His peaceful smile reflected the spiritual relief of a man who had finally balanced the scales of honor through selfless action. Tyler tackled Morgan through the casino's front windows in a crash that sent both men sprawling onto Fremont Street among shattered glass and twisted metal. The final battle spilled into public view as police, SWAT teams, and federal agents coordinated takedowns of Morgan's entire criminal network. Morgan fought with the desperate fury of someone who had lost everything. His entertainment empire destroyed, his wealthy clients exposed, his underground kingdom reduced to rubble and evidence for prosecutors. But his corporate ruthlessness proved inadequate against Tyler's newfound purpose and athletic ability. The street fight was witnessed by hundreds of tourists and live-streamed across social media platforms. But this broadcast showed justice being served rather than innocence being destroyed. Tyler's redemption played out in real time as he fought not for glory or social media content, but for the honor of every legend. Morgan had murdered. Betty's team simultaneously recovered servers containing evidence of 2 years of systematic murder, guaranteeing prosecution for everyone involved in the graveyard's operations. The digital files included client lists, financial records, and video documentation that would destroy criminal networks across 12 countries. Morgan's defeat was complete when his own security footage captured his confession during the final battle. His arrogant monologues about rich clients paying to watch heroes die provided prosecutors with evidence no defense attorney could challenge or explain away. As federal agents placed Morgan under arrest, his international network began crumbling through coordinated raids in multiple countries. The billionaires, dictators, and war criminals who had funded his operation faced exposure and prosecution for their role in systematic murder disguised as entertainment. Chang passed peacefully, surrounded by his friends, having found the redemption that had eluded him since his forced betrayal began. His granddaughter Lily held his hand as his spirit departed, carrying with it the knowledge that his sacrifice had saved countless future victims. The legends gathered around their fallen brother, each man understanding that Chang's death had meaning beyond personal loss. His sacrifice had exposed an international criminal enterprise, while proving that honor could triumph over evil when people chose courage over safety. 6 months later, the Chang Memorial Martial Arts Academy's grand opening drew crowds to Las Vegas's Chinatown district. The elegant school honored traditional kung fu values while addressing modern self-defense needs, proving that ancient wisdom remained relevant in contemporary society. Donnie stood before the academy's entrance, fully recovered from his underground ordeal, but forever changed by the experience. The simple building represented more than a business venture. It was a living memorial to every legend who had died fighting Morgan's empire of suffering. The Academy's first class included local children seeking discipline and confidence, several of Morgan's former victims finding healing through traditional training, and Tyler Brooks, who had become Donnie's most dedicated student. Tyler's transformation from arrogant social media star to humble martial arts student embodied the Academy's core mission. That Tyler's humility was evident in every movement as he assisted with children's classes, his earlier obsession with dominance replaced by genuine desire to protect and serve others. The young man who had once mocked traditional martial arts now understood that true strength came from character rather than physical prowess. Eddie and Jack served as guest instructors, bringing their boxing and military expertise to create comprehensive programs that honored diverse combat traditions. Their presence ensured that students learned from multiple disciplines while maintaining respect for each art's unique contributions to human development. The Academy's walls displayed photographs of Chong and other legends who had died in the graveyard, ensuring their sacrifice would never be forgotten. Each image carried stories of men who had chosen honor over survival, providing inspiration for future generations of martial artists. Morgan's conviction and life sentence had sent shockwaves through international criminal networks, while his former clients faced prosecution across multiple countries. The graveyard's exposure had destroyed an entire industry built on the suffering of heroes, saving countless lives through the courage of those who had chosen to fight back. The final scene showed Donnie teaching a children's class with Tyler's assistants, both men embodying the patience and wisdom that defined authentic martial arts instruction. As young students practiced their forms, Donnie spoke words that captured the Academy's essential truth. We do not fight to prove we are strong. We train so that we may protect those who cannot protect themselves. The camera pulled back to reveal the thriving Academy, proof that legends never truly die. They pass their wisdom to the next generation, ensuring that honor, respect, and justice continue flowing through time like an eternal river of human dignity. 1 year after the graveyard's destruction, Donnie received an unexpected invitation that would test everything the Chong Memorial Academy had accomplished. The World Combat Sports Federation wanted him to serve as honorary president of their newly established ethics committee, a position created in response to the international scandal that had exposed corruption throughout the martial arts entertainment industry. The ceremony took place at the same Bellagio Hotel where Tyler's original challenge had begun this journey. But now, instead of confrontation and disrespect, the event celebrated the values that authentic martial arts had always represented: honor, discipline, and the protection of those who couldn't protect themselves. Tyler accompanied Donnie as his official representative, a role that would have been unimaginable during their first encounter. The young man who had once live-streamed his arrogance now carried himself with the quiet confidence that came from understanding true strength. His transformation had become legendary in its own right, inspiring countless social media followers to seek authentic training rather than superficial glory. Master Yen, Tyler said quietly as they prepared to enter the ceremony, I need you to know that everything good in my life started the moment you showed me what real martial arts looked like. Not the techniques, the character behind them. The ballroom was filled with legitimate martial arts masters from around the world, each representing traditions that Morgan's operation had sought to destroy through systematic humiliation. Their presence honored not just Donnie's actions, but every legend who had fallen in the graveyard's blood-soaked arena. During his acceptance speech, Donnie spoke about Chang's final lesson, that redemption was always possible for those willing to sacrifice personal comfort for universal justice. He announced the establishment of the Chong Foundation, which would provide free martial arts training to at-risk youth, while supporting families of fighters who had been exploited by criminal enterprises. Betty Walsh, now director of the Foundation's Security Division, had coordinated with law enforcement agencies worldwide to prevent similar operations from emerging. Her military background proved invaluable in identifying and shutting down underground fight clubs before they could claim new victims. Miguel Santos stood proudly in the audience with his daughter Lily Chong, named in honor of the grandfather who had given his life for justice. Miguel's courage in documenting the graveyard's crimes had earned him a position as the Foundation's community outreach coordinator. ensuring that future victims would have advocates who understood their suffering. As the ceremony concluded, Donnie looked across the room and saw something that filled his heart with profound satisfaction. Young martial artists from diverse backgrounds, united not by the desire to dominate others, but by the commitment to protect those who need it. Protection, the legends would never truly die, because their wisdom lived on in every student who chose honor over glory, discipline over aggression, and service over self-interest. If you like the story, please watch another story on our channel and subscribe to the channel.